Hey everyone, welcome back to the shop. Getting ready to install the Unaka Roof Rack. So this is the Explorist.life Unaka rack. And we've got all of our hardware. We've got our fairing for the front fairing. Then we have our roof rails and then the side rail supports. So we're gonna go ahead and since we have everything, we're gonna start prepping for the install. So besides putting all this stuff together and kind of going through that, really quickly want to talk about roof prep. So up here on the top of the van, we're going to have 8 locations for mounting. So we have the front, this one gets skipped. So we have 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then once we take these caps off, we'll use a heat gun. And I like to just take a little bit of a razor and kind of cut this cap off so it doesn't peel the paint. It makes it a little bit easier, I think, in my opinion. Take the cap off. Underneath this cap is a threaded stud that is made into the van. One thing that's kind of quirky about the Fords is the rail may be offset just a little bit. So when you take this cap off, if you see that the threaded insert is moved, you will have to take a Dremel tool and kind of cut out to expose that bracket. So the first step we're gonna do is we're gonna take our rails. So there's 2 sets of rails. One set is longer than the other set, and the longer set goes to the front and the shorter goes to the back. Then we'll take these side plates, we'll get our hardware, and we'll bolt the side plates to the rails. And then once we get to that point, we'll take our mounting hardware over here that actually connects it to the roof. And then once we do that, each one of these packets is labeled. So set of 4, so you'll set these at their appropriate locations to help you bolt this together. Then we have these little powder coated pieces of steel that are going to join the panels together. Again, these are the feet, and this all makes sense once we get further. They do give you some anti-seize and Loctite that we're gonna use for the bolts. But when this and this come together with the hardware, that'll be your first part. So you'll have one run for the passenger side and one side for the driver's side. And then the next step will be to set the spacing for your solar panels. So if you're using this kit as it is intended to be used with the Explorist.life solar panel kit as well. So if you guys did not see in the previous video, there is a set of solar panels. So we have 2 200 watts for the front. Then we have our 2 55 for the middle, and then the rear, which will be flanking the air conditioner, our pneumatic cooling AC. So what we'll do to actually mount those, in these 2 pieces of kind of cardboard wrap, paper wrapped pieces, these are the spacers and supports for these solar panels. So that'll be the next to final piece of this. And then the final piece, obviously, is the front fairing. So that front fairing will be a kit in its own. It has 2 ends that slip onto the 80/20 rails. And then we have some rubberized trim. So this will allow it to not scratch the roof and also provide a seal. So when you're coming down the road, we have a nice seal and the wind will blow up over the roof rack. All right, so that's a quick overview of the parts and what we're gonna do for setup. The best way to install this is for any roof rack. This is not just for the Unaka roof rack, but I have 2 ladders. So I have a ladder on the right side of the van and a ladder on the driver's side. But right now what we're gonna do is we're gonna come over here and we're gonna start unwrapping the roof rack components, do a little time lapse and start putting this together. What I may do is I think I might take this sheet of plywood and kind of scoot it over and go ahead and start assembling one of those rails up here. So we'll see how that goes. So we'll look and stay tuned for the next clip. All right, we are back in the shop and we have assembled one side of our Unaka Explorist.life edition roof rack. So a couple things I wanted to talk about this. There is a real-time video, it's a live stream we did of me putting this together and going through all the measurements. This is the short version that you guys are watching right now. But I wanted to go over what happened in the time lapse when I was putting this together. So there's two pieces. So you got the front piece and the back piece, just like this, they're separate. Then we're gonna link them together right here to these back plates. This is upside down, so just kind of think about that. See how the feet are like that. And the plates go on the inside. The longer piece of 80/20 is going to go to the front, and then the shorter is going to go to the back. And then what you're going to need to do is when you get to the point where you are spacing out the feet, what you're going to want to do is have some type of table, or you can do this on the floor. Line this up right here. Take your tape measure. And then you're going to come all the way down here. Go ahead and lock your tape measure. And then what I did is I went and I took a permanent marker and I put a mark. So on the drawing that you get from Unaka, the PDF, they'll have, starting from the front of the van where this curve is, they'll have a measurement from here to here, and that's where you place your first piece. Put a line for your second, put a line for your third, a line for your fourth. You'll do the same thing for the corresponding holes on the back that bolt the 80/20 to this setup. Now keep in mind, when you get this on the roof, you may have to adjust this bracket. So I would go ahead and while you're down here, use the Loctite that's supplied in your kit. And go ahead and do your Loctite here and on this side, where the arch is, these plates. So Loctite them on. But wait and keep these just hand tight to get you up into the top of the van. Because these holes from Ford, they should be relatively accurate. However, remember you're gonna have to come up here and cut out these caps. So in just a minute, we're going to show you how to remove this cap. And then we're gonna raise the bar up, and then we'll clean everything up. If we need to do any rust preventative from what we dremeled out, we'll do that. And then other than that, we'll go ahead and get some black RTV, put it around here, and we'll get our first side on. So let's go ahead and get the roof prepped, get those caps off, and we'll move on to the next step. All right, guys, we are on top of the van, and this is our plastic that we're gonna get off. There's a couple tools that we want to use, and I left one downstairs. Okay, that is this razor blade. You technically don't have to use a razor blade, but if I were you, I would use a razor blade. Because what you want to do is you're just going to come around here and you're just going to score where the paint is. So you're not going to cut this off. We're going to use the heat gun to soften the adhesive that's on here. So just use this to, it's almost like you're kind of cracking the paint off that's been sprayed over it. So that's the first thing you're going to do. Next thing is we need to have a couple tools. This is a plastic scraper. So instead of a metal blade, it has a plastic blade so it doesn't scratch the paint. That's going to get the gummy stuff off. For the cap itself, we're going to use these body panel tools. You can get these from Harbor Freight. And then we're just gonna get some heat on here. And then start working our way around. And don't get too hot. You can't overdo it with the heat. You know, you don't want to mess up the paint around your van. So if it starts to get kind of hard, just give it a little bit more heat, but don't go crazy. There you go. So that's the cap that comes off, and then look at that. There is a hole underneath it. So this is the worst example. So we're gonna have to actually cut this out right here. We're gonna have to cut this out with the Dremel because the hole is offset. If that didn't show good up on camera, then I'll do it again. So next what we're gonna do is you're gonna start shaving this adhesive off. We wanna get a majority of it off first with the razor, and then we're gonna come back in with the some denatured alcohol and get the rest of it up. We wanna get all this off as much as possible. One, because we want the plate to be nice and level to get the best seal that it can. And then two, we need this clean so that when we do the rust preventative, it's got something to adhere to. And you will have to do this 8 times. So this is a little bit more of the tedious part of the roof rack install. Okay, once the big stuff's out of the way, what I did is I took a rag and I soaked it in denatured alcohol. And so I'm just gonna go ahead and let it sit on there for a second. If it gets really stubborn, you can just kind of soak it in denatured alcohol. I mean, use a lot. That stuff won't hurt anything, won't hurt the paint. All right, so that's our first one done. And then go ahead and grab a permanent marker. And what you wanna do is come in here and trace the material, like make a circle of what needs to be cut out with the Dremel in order to expose the good part of the screw hole. So for example, I need to cut this much out in order to get a good access to my bolt location. I'm gonna get a bracket just to show you kind of how this works. So after we cut this, we do rust preventative on here. We're gonna take our bracket, and our bracket will already be bolted to the rail in our case. And we're just gonna put it down like that. But before we actually put this down and seal it, what we'll do is around this ring here where we cut everything out, we're gonna put some black RTV. And then we're gonna take this and then we're gonna bolt it down. And then we'll get the whole entire rail where we want it, RTV, everything. Then we're gonna lock it down. And then once we've finished with this, we'll go ahead and take our lap sealant and we'll put it around this perimeter. And then we'll just put a dollop right there on top. All right, we just finished up each one of the holes. The next step is to go and Dremel out these two. These, we don't have to do anything, which is cool. So we'll get the Dremel, we'll clean up these two, we'll do some rust preventative, and then we'll move on to the next step. All right, guys, we just finished up with doing the Dremel. So we just have a simple Dremel right here with a grinding bit on the top. And that's pretty much what you want to do to open up the hole. So you can see right here, what we did is we had, this is right here is our black permanent marker mark. And we just want to make sure that the hole inside, so for example, if I just put this Dremel bit in there, see how the bolt can go down freely if this was the bolt? Yeah, so that's what we're gonna do. And then we're just gonna do some rust prevent around here, and then where we kind of skipped off during our process, just wanna make sure that this is sealed This one over here we barely had to do anything to it. So that's good, that's good. Once we do the rust preventative, this is the black RTV that I was talking about. And then this will go around the hole. And then, yeah, once that goes around the hole, then we'll be able to put our plate on. And for us, the whole rail is gonna be coming down and bolting onto here. All right, moving on to the next step. All right, guys, I got a new trick. This last one, I was trying to, change up how I get these off so they're easier. What I did was I just heated it up and I let it absorb the heat and let it sit for a second. And I came back and just did half the side. And then if you just take it and rip it off like that, makes you have to do less cleanup. So that is my new method of taking these caps off so I don't have to clean up so much. All right, believe it or not, this rack is pretty light. So you'll probably be able to do this by yourself if you're in that situation. Let's set this down and see how close our mounts are. That's pretty good. That is pretty good. So next what I'm going to do is I'm going to place this over here. And we're going to gently sit it down. Because what we need to do is just really quick see how far our holes are off. They look really accurate. Yeah, they're really good. So this measurement's pretty good. We have our rust preventative down. We've grinded our holes. We've got all of our openings opened up. So the next thing we got to do is we already cleaned everything with denatured alcohol. So we're going to take our RTV and just put a little circle around the perimeter of the hole. We're going to flip it over. We'll go ahead and bring our bolts up. So you're going to need your bolts that come with the kit, Loctite. And then there's this washer that goes with the bolt. It's rubberized on the bottom. So you'll need 4 of those. And just kind of place them near your spot if you're doing this solo. 1/2-inch wrench is what you're going to need. So let's go get our RTV and we'll keep going. All right, guys, I had to pick the phone up off the ground because it fell over on the tripod. Anyway, we're back up here and I'll tell you what I did. I went ahead and went through and made sure that this was nice and true. So I went to the very back and you can see like line of sight that it's nice and straight. So I'll show you that in a second. Then I went through and to my surprise, every single one of these bolts were perfect. I mean, these brackets were in a perfect location for the holes in the van, which doesn't always happen. So pretty good build on the part of Unaka. Then going forward, just set everything up on this side. Now, yes, it is true. You may want to put both in and see if you need to move them side to side. However, where the holes were, they're kind of one's offset here, one's here, one's here, one's here. I don't actually see how that would be possible to actually move it a considerable amount this way or this way to fix a problem with alignment over here. So that's why I went ahead and bolted everything down, and that is in its place forever right there. If I do have to go back and fix it, I'll let you know and tell you that that was something I missed. But for right now, I just don't see with how it's laid out that I'm ever going to be able to adjust this enough to compensate for something that was maybe missed or, you know, out of spec from Ford alignment wise. So we'll just have to see when we get there. But yeah, it looks really good. It's very strong. So let's go ahead and hop on to the back here. And let's see what the alignment looks like. So as we come up here, you guys can see this thing is perfect. So the front was perfect. This back end was out a little bit this way, and I turned it this way. So now everything is super true. You can see how straight that is. Excellent. Very, very good. So what I'm trying to say is, I don't know how I would be able to, if the other side is off at all for these crossbars, I'm hoping they have enough adjustment on the inside here like that. That's what I'm talking about. But yeah, this side went in very well. So let's go ahead and get the other side finished. And then we'll move on to the next part, which is the fairing. So we'll assemble that. And then the final part will be assembling the supports for these solar panels. All right, guys, I must say I'm very impressed with this roof rack. It has gone together extremely precise. It's either the roof rack or the van or both, but this has been, this is a very well designed roof rack, accuracy wise. Usually you can't get away with bolting this into place, making it flush, and doing that one. And then these crossbars, they just lay in here perfect. I mean, they are barely touching on each side. It's, yeah, very, very accurate. Let me show you the back here. So I didn't even adjust for straightness. This whole roof rack is it's very nice. So what's even better is when we get the crossbars mounted to the solar panels and get all that put on, I think this is going to be an excellent roof rack. So I like it so far. All right, next step is we're going to take a break, and we're actually going to, let me get this a little bit wider of a shot here, if I can. Well, maybe not. So we're going to work on the front fairing, but everything is good to go. We got everything Loctite down, got our RTV. So the passenger side and the driver's side is finished. This will be its permanent home. You can bolt in the rear temporarily and the front cross members to get it square, and then I just popped in the middle too, above the brackets. So you can see right there. Yeah, and everything is excellent. So we're gonna step down here, and next shot is we're gonna be unboxing this, and we'll be assembling it. So stay tuned for that. We're almost finished with the roof rack install. Okay, we're gonna get our tools up here with our bolts, so they don't fall all over the place. We have the rubber on the bottom here, so we should be able to just set it nicely without this scratching anything on the roof. So that is the plan. If you have another person, it'd probably be a good idea to do that. So we're gonna go on the outside over here, gently put it down, just like that. All right, perfect. Now we're going to make sure we have our washer and our bolt. We're gonna go ahead and just gently put this one in. And then we're gonna hop to the other side because we wanna make sure that we get this bolt into place. Okay, so let's just temporarily hold in here. And we're going to hop to the other side. Okay, now just for our bottom two bolts. And then what we're gonna do is hop back on the other side with our wrenches, and we'll start to align this fairing to the van. We're using a 1/2 inch wrench, and we're using a 3/16 Allen wrench. Next, we come on this side. We'll do the same thing. So let me show you what I'm doing here real quick. So you see these holes like that, the slots? I want to make sure that that hole is not seen from the outside the van. So what I'm doing is I'm moving this back. So watch this. I'm moving it back to hide that. And then I'm going to level this plane out. And then this right here will meet up to this. And then that will square up to this. So hopefully that makes sense. But you do have to get it tight first. Be careful, you'll cut your knuckle on the outside of this. Once you get the top one where you want it, you'll actually want to tighten it down pretty good. And you want to make sure that you're maintaining the that contact with your front pad. So back up. So I need to we didn't tighten this top one all the way. We need to do the bottom one first. Not sure what the video looks like. Let's see here. Here we go. And keep it just a little bit of tension on there so we can get our angle where we want it. So that right there is perfect. I'm not sure how we can. We may need to put a wrench over here like that, so that we can dial this in. There you go. That looks good. Okay. Let's see if we can hold that. Perfect. All right, I got it. Okay, so unfortunately, we won't be able to keep this flat. I just wanted to see if I could do that. We are gonna have to lean this down. So let's go ahead and start doing that. All right, so let me show you guys what I wanted to do versus what I'm gonna have to do. Ignore all that, that's just my knuckle. Okay, see how this is flat and flush? So I wanted that to be flat and flush so that this curve right here will be clean and we didn't have any holes here. So here's the issue. This is not touching. So what that means is this is gonna have to be loosened. This can stay in place, but this is gonna have to be loosened so that this front can tilt down. So I wanted this to be like that, but it can't be because this is not touching. So the whole point is to get that to touch. So yeah, I'm gonna clean off my blood and I'll go back and tilt this down. So let's go ahead and get the camera back over here and then we'll tilt it down. Sorry if you guys are squeamish at all. It's just what we gotta do. Okay, so we just loosened it. Okay, we got it pushed down. The next step is this fin needs to come out. So we're gonna tighten. We're gonna tighten these first, and then we'll tighten these. So this first to angle it down. And then before we lock it in, we need to do these first. Lock it down, and then we'll do these last. Of course, I may have to get a socket. It's possible I have to get a socket for these. And then tighten it. Good. And then we're gonna lock in the front. Now we're gonna go on the other side and do the same thing. So let's just move the camera over. Okay, so on this side, see that one's got a really good compression. This one's got, so we're just gonna do the same thing. There's a wrench in there to help us out. Okay, we've got a really excellent seal now. Perfect. This, yeah, the rubber is compressed really well, so I'm happy with that. So we can go ahead and finish tightening these up. Now we can come through with our 7/16 and 5/32 wrench. Tighten these bottom pieces. Okay, actually, now we're going to go back. So we're going back because now we've bent it down, but now it's down, and this can actually push. Well, let's see. Okay, now we've got it in place. Now the hard part's gonna be, so what I did was I just kind of bumped that down into place. Let's see, I may have to do that on the other side as well. Yeah, I just kind of have to mess with it until you get it the way you want it to look and set onto the van. what I'm doing in the front is I'm pushing it down because I want this inside gap to be very minimal. It's not really mainly for wind. I mean, it's two things, for wind and for aesthetics. I want it to look like a nice clean install. Good. Do the top one. All right. So the seal looks really good. We've got this gap closed as much as we can. We'll look at the other side, but I think it's as good as it's going to get. There's not really any way to move this side to side because it's already good to go. So now, finally, we can go through and just do our final tightening on the last 4 screws going this direction. All right. Perfect. Finish up on this other side, and then we'll move on to here, I'll give you guys just a look over here. Okay, so right here you guys can see we get that nice profile. But the most important is this compression here of the gasket, so we don't get that wind noise. Now it's going to be hard on the 2 sides because they're pressed down as much as possible. The middle is going to be a little bit high, and that's just due to the crest, but we still have contact. And then one thing that I wanted to make sure was that this gap is nice and tight. And then the way that this comes together, this seam is good. So right now, everything is exactly the way we want it. Don't worry about this kind of coming up. There's nothing really that you can do about that, because if this seam is perfect right here, that just has to do with how they ended up bending that piece. So, but don't worry, from down here, you won't be able to see anything. There'll be a slight angle here, so you can still achieve the no hole poking out look, that's what I wanted. But yeah, so this is now the roof rack installed. So it looks really good. So the next step is we're going to come over here and we're going to put our first panel up here and show you what it looks like. We won't be putting these panels on in this video. That's because we still need to cut out the 2 holes. So you'll see these panels go in a separate video. These will go in just the same as this one. So you'll put this one in with the 2 T-nuts. You'll put this one in with 2 T-nuts, this one in 2 T-nuts. So just think of each one of these as its own panel. So even though you have 2 panels like this, they're still going to be installed just like this one. Those 2, just like this one. They have 2 rails, 2 T-nuts here, and then 2 T-nuts here. So nice and simple. What we'll do later in a separate video as well will be the solar connections. So all the solar connections, the branch adapters, and the fuses for the solar, the inline fuses that are going to go on top of the roof. All right, let's get our first solar panel in and go to the next step. Okay, when you're installing stuff on a roof by yourself, you're going to want to make sure, get a towel so that you can slide this across. It helps that the roof is clean, but I've already washed this and it's already got dirt and dust on it, so Anyway, we're gonna move on from that. We do need to put our T-nuts in first. So we'll do 2 over here, and then we'll do 2 over there, and then we'll go get our panel. Okay, so we're gonna take our T-nut, put it in our channel, slide it down here. Doesn't have to be perfect, we'll fix it later. Other T-nut, come in, and let's do the other side. I'm also going to be covering this rail in case we need to lay it on here. We won't be scratching the rail. Now when we do go to wire these panels, we need to keep all these panels loose. So we need the T-nuts slid in, but we need to keep these loose so that we can make sure that we can actually lift it up for wiring of the solar panels. So we'll have to be able to do this to grab these wires out, connect them, for example. But I'm doing this panel here just so you guys can see how you're supposed to install this. So you can say this is for demo purposes. So again, the reason we have the towel over there is because this is going to fall down onto that 80/20 here in a second. Don't worry, we're not going to break anything. Try to be as nice and gentle as possible. There you go. And it looks like that is very good on Unaka's part. They did a cut in the channel and it actually passes the screw, so you can slide the panel all the way up to the front, which that's pretty good forethought. I'm very happy about that. Get this up, get our towel out from under here. All right, so we're gonna slide this forward. I'm catching on something. I don't know what it is. Let's find out what I'm catching on. Anyway, while you guys are here, check this out. This is what's awesome. Look at this. They cut this channel out so that it goes around the bolt. Something's catching over there, so we're gonna grab that real quick, find out what it is. So hang out here for a second. See if that is on the other side. The bolt is too low. That's hilarious. Well, I was just praising the bolt, so now we'll have to loosen this bolt, and then we'll slide it underneath, and then we'll retighten it. I just want to end this video with this going underneath this lip. So. This should not loosen the front, but we're going to see. All right. It's not that bad. Let's see if we can get it under now. Oh, just barely. Yeah, that's really cool. It's cool that you can do that. Heck yeah. Look at that. That's so awesome. Yeah, so we're going to keep that loose because we'll need to slide the panel back out. But yeah, really, really impressed with this roof rack. This is a very well engineered roof rack. Everything is super clean, super precise. Very good job. We have a nice 200 watt panel spanning the width of a Ford Transit, which is awesome. We still have access in this channel to access our bolts, which is awesome. So yeah. All right guys, we're going to close out this video of the Unaka roof rack install. we're gonna hop up here one more time and we're gonna go over this roof rack. So this, again, excellent quality from Unaka. It's the first time I've installed this and I'm very impressed. Everything went together very smoothly, super clean. This transition up here in the front is just incredible. So very precise, as you guys can see. Very good access to putting your T-nuts. What's awesome is because we're utilizing the 80/20, you're gonna be able to put, you know, whatever accessories you want over here. You wanna do like a WeBoost antenna and a bracket. You got a lot of options to do your own kind of DIY adding to this rail. That's what 80/20 really expands the possibilities of what you can kind of modify and do to here. For example, for modification, I typically will take the forward antenna and mount it up on top, but I'm not seeing people do that. So I did it just because I thought it would have some interference. However, that may not be the case. So this one I'm gonna test, and if it does come to where we need to change it, I'll do that. But it looks like that's gonna be fine. If I did want to relocate it, all I'd have to do is make a mount here into the 80/20 channel, for example, and then just pop that antenna right up like that. Although I may not be able to do that because the line might not be long enough, so that might hold us back. Anyway, this is the Unaka roof rack is awesome. So to end this video, this panel, what you would do is you have these T-nuts. You would just go and bolt your screw here and your bolt here to secure the panel down. So there's 2 bolts on this side. There's 2 bolts on this side that go in the 80/20 channel. You would just rinse and repeat. So next panel, same thing. Third panel, same thing. The final and fourth panel, same thing. So, yep, nice and easy. The only tips that I would have in doing this is for these side rails is to make sure that, you know, use these crossbars without the panels to square everything up, make sure it's nice and square, lock it down. When you get to this point, before you put your solar panels on, you would obviously want to do your lap sealant on all of your tops up here. Since this is not our final install, I'm going to be cutting out the max fan and cutting out the pneumatic cooling AC unit. There's gonna be a lot of metal filings up here and dust, and so before I put the lap sealant down, we're gonna clean all that off, do rust preventative, and then we'll lap seal the whole roof. The reason you don't wanna do that, or my advice for you that you don't wanna do it, is if you put the lap sealant, it stays tacky for a day or two, and it can absorb those metal filings, and you don't want that. So you want to make sure that you're done cutting and assembling anything on your roof. And then what you'll do when you're done cutting and assembling, you'll go back, do your lap sealant, do it around your max fan, do it around your AC unit, all in one go, so that everything is nice and clean. For the front, just keep everything kind of loose on this corner. You want to tilt it down first, tighten this one. This is your first one to tighten down. Angle it, lock in the angle down here. Then do your final tighten of this, final tighten here. That's going to bring that fin out, and then this is going to further clamp it down. And then you're going to want to make sure that your compression on this seal is adequate, because that's going to keep you from that wind noise. So that's something important to do. Yeah, but if you guys do all that, you're going to have a killer roof rack. One thing that I did not mention is this. So this is a plastic cap that goes to on the ends, that end and that end. Now remember, if you put this plastic cap on, you won't be able to slide that T-nut in easily. So leave this, put this in a safe place, and use that, do that at the very last moment, like when you're done with this whole entire roof rack. All right, guys, that is the full install video of the Unaka and Explorist.life Edition roof rack with the 580 watts of solar panels. If you have any questions, put those in the comments below. I'd be happy to answer them. Also, there's a 3-part live stream series on this install, in case you missed it. That live stream goes into details and questions that some people ask during the live stream covering this roof rack install. So the first one, we do the side rails. The second one, we fabricate or we assemble the front fairing. And then the third one, we come over here and we actually go and we lay out the solar panels and put the solar panel crossbar rails together. So that's it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel, like this video if you enjoyed it, and then share this video to anyone who is installing an Unaka Explorist.life version roof rack. I think it'll really help them out. Also, don't forget to check out our DIY van build cheat sheet. It is a cheat sheet that's essentially an Excel document that I created from the last 3 years of all of my Amazon purchases that I buy for the shop. So all the tools there, it's over 250 curated items on that list. It's searchable. The best part about this list is it's 100% free. It's completely free. All you gotta do is go to vanbuilderhq.com, click on the link, and sign up for it. It'll be sent right to your inbox. You can also click on the link in the description below to download it, and I think it'll really help you out on your DIY van build journey. That's gonna do it for this video, and we'll see you guys next time.